So, good day everyone. I am Hannah Marie Agustin Tuyao. So, for today's video, I am going to tackle the country Vietnam, in which the first topic that I will be discussing is all about the linguistic landscape of Vietnam. So, Vietnam has a population of approximately 87 million and is a multi-ethnic country and a multilingual society, with 54 different ethnic groups who speak more than 100 different languages. It is from the Ethnologue Language of the World 2050. So among them, ethnic Viet or Kinh constitute 85.8% of their population, or nearly 73.6 million people, while the 53 other ethnic minority groups represent 14.2%, or nearly 11 million people. Some of the largest minority groups have a population of 1 to 1.5 million people, including Thai, Murong, Mer, and Hmong. Second is the relatively smaller groups are the Nung, Hua, and Dao, with between 700,000 to 900,000 people. Then the rest display considerably smaller numbers, with some as few as around 300 people, such as the Brau and Odu. The majority of the dominant Kin reside in inland deltas and coastal areas and speak Vietnamese, while ethnic minorities, in contrast, mostly live in mountains or highland areas and speak a variety of languages. 47 are categorized as vigorous or used sustainably for face-to-face communication by all generations. This includes Brau, Qualan, Koong, and etc. While 15 are still developing or used vigorously with some literature form but not yet widespread, such as Mer, Lao, Banar, Bru, Hmong, Dao. While 32 are threatened or used widely by all generations but losing their users, including Cham, Thai, Chinese, as later generations of ethnic Chinese living in Vietnam tend to speak Vietnamese as their first language. Among others, 5 are shifting or used among children, bearing not transmitting to their children. And 5 are dying. Includes Arem, Jelao, Green, Red, White, and Thai Boy. Other explanation for the current strength of Vietnamese according to M.H. Le and O'Haro in 2007. First, the resistance of Vietnamese people to a reliance on colonial languages such as Chinese or French in earlier historical period. Second, the successful embedding of the language in all formal domains of contemporary life such as education, technology, and law. So, in terms of foreign languages, due to the increasing involvement of Vietnam in regional and international economic and sociocultural activities, English has today become the most popular foreign language in Vietnam. Other languages are learned and used to a lesser extent. Apart from many long-established European languages such as French, Russian, German, and Spanish, Asian languages such as Chinese, Japanese, and Korean are also receiving growing interest.
Good day, everyone. The topic that I will tackle is all about language education policy during French colonization, language education policy during a divided Vietnam, and language education policy during reunification and Doi Moi. Language education policy during French colonization. Beginning as early as 1858, French soldiers advanced into Vietnam, and 100 years later, Vietnam remained under the rule of the French colonialists. The French colonialists made French the official language in Vietnam, the medium of instruction at all school level. Lo Bianco, 1994. Chuk was the official written form of Vietnamese and used Chuk to get rid of the Chinese legacy and facilitate access to French language. Du 2006, Lam 2008. Nevertheless, the main aim of the language education policy in this period was to train the native Vietnamese to work for the French colonial government and to transmit French values into the Vietnamese society. School curricular designed and set up by French administrators were not focused on learning about France, but on learning Vietnamese history, geography, and society from a French perspective. Sullivan, 1996. Therefore, compared to France, Chuk had secondary status. It was only taught at school, ironically as a foreign language. Lo Bianco, 1994, 100. Because it was not used for official documents or classroom instruction. Any attempt to emphasize the teaching of Chuk in place of French, like in the case of Dong Ching Cha Tuk, Tangking Free School, an institution established by Vietnamese intellectuals that emphasized Chuk Mu and represented Vietnamese resistance to French rule. This education policy during a divided Vietnam. Although it has been the most commonly spoken language in Vietnam for centuries, Vietnamese did not become the medium of instruction until after 1940, when Vietnam claimed independence from the French, then Ham 1992 to 2006, right 2002. The first president of an independent Vietnam at the time of Chu Chi Minh sought to fight illiteracy by investing in education. It was at this point that the Vietnamese, represented by Romanized Kieu Mu, officially became the national language for Vietnam and the medium of instruction at all school level. Ministry of Education 1990. In Leo of French, however, French was still taught as an additional language by Vietnamese teachers using French texts, Lo Bianco 1994. In fact, during the fight with the French colonialists from 1945 to 1954, French was still used officially in French-controlled urban areas, whereas Vietnamese was promoted in Vietnam-led rural regions due 2000. After the Geneva Accords in 1954, the French War ended. Vietnam was divided into the communist North and the nationalist South, making the landscape of language education policy more complex. As a result of aid and influence from the communist countries in North, Russian and Chinese became popular for foreign languages. The first foreign language school in Vietnam was established in 1958 to teach these languages. Tran 2008 cited in LAM 2011-40. North government also issued Order 43 TTG in 1968 to stipulate that either Russian or Chinese was to be learned intensively at university level. Meanwhile, in the South, with the involvement of American troops after the French were defeated in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, which began in the middle of March and ended in the May 1954. English was required to be taught as an obligatory foreign language at school and university level TL Nguyen 2006. As early as 1955, many U.S. advisors were sent to the South to train soldiers as part of U.S. involvement in southern Vietnam during the war. From 1957, English education started to develop as continuous assistance was supplied to South Vietnam through one of the earliest government-supported agencies in the Vietnam. The presence of American specialists, soldiers, business people, missionaries, and the free supply of textbook and teaching materials helped to bring about the mushrooming of English language schools in the South. One noticeable feature of language education policy during this time is the contrasting nature of teaching and learning foreign language in a divided Vietnam. In the South, English was taught as living language with a high integration of the cultural and political aspect of the language. A bilingual use of both English and Vietnamese was mandatory for all government documents in the South during this period. However, in the North, foreign languages were mainly taught for instrumental purposes and with a limited scope. Most widely taught foreign languages, Russian was mostly taught as a school subject. Chuk Mu or Vietnamese was strongly upheld to strengthen national independence and identity. LH Pans et al. 2014. Language education policy after reunification and Doi Moi. Vietnamese continued to be used as the medium of instruction starting from primary education. Moreover, to ensure ethnic equality rights, language education policy in this period stressed the importance of educating ethnic minority people, especially in their native languages. In 1980, 7 ethnic minority languages were selected to be taught in general education nationwide. Based on the availability of a written script and teachers and textbook resources throughout 2011. Ethnic minority language education, however, experienced a downturn in the following 10 or 15 years due to insufficient resources. IBIB 7. The shifting political landscape also brought about changes in foreign language education policy. The thrill of victory over the American imperialists was reflected in the extreme policy of burning and binding English and French textbooks and other related materials in an effort to get rid of colonialist and imperialist legacy in the early 1980s. Long and Kendall 1981. As a result, both of these languages were removed from the curriculum, and those who learned them clandestinely could be punished and were immediately suspected for preparing to leave the country. Right 2002-115. After that, as part of political and educational alliance with the Soviet Union, Russian was required to be the main foreign language. Due 2006-5.
So, the third topic that I will be discussing is all about the language education policies in the 21st century. So, what is this all about? So, language education policies in contemporary Vietnam reflect the current status of the languages spoken in the country. Well, it has been categorized into three, wherein first, policies for Vietnamese, the national language; second, rules and regulation regarding languages education for ethnic minority people; third, policies pertaining to the teaching and learning of foreign languages, among which English takes primary position. Now may we have the language education policies for Vietnamese. As the de facto national language and the language of the majority kin, Vietnamese assumes utmost importance in the country's education. According to the Vietnam Education Law, Vietnamese is the official medium of instruction in the public school system and other educational organizations in the country. And at the school level, Vietnamese is used to teach all science and social science courses. Vietnamese study subjects are also core components of the national curriculum, some examples of which include Vietnamese, Vietnamese literature, and Vietnamese composition. In these courses, students learn about the phonetics, grammar, and vocabulary of Vietnamese. They also work with well-written Vietnamese poetry and prose, as well as learn to write fluently in the language. To furtherly tackle this, the Vietnamese government rules in an administrative document on international cooperation in education that Vietnamese students attending international schools at all levels must have taken Vietnamese and Vietnamese studies as part of their compulsory subjects in Ministry of Education and Training, or MOET 2012. The weekly amount of time dedicated to these subjects varies between 70 minutes to 140 minutes depending on the level of schooling. The goals are to establish and develop students' Vietnamese language skills, as well as nurture their understanding and love for the language and culture of their mother language. Centralized implementation of this policy, in which most minority learners are taught in Vietnamese from grade 1 of primary school and learn their mother tongue only as a supplementary subject, has to great extent overshadowed non-dominant minority language. Now we have the language education policies for ethnic minority languages. In provinces where minority language education has taken place, the three models that have been implemented includes: first, simultaneous introduction of Vietnamese and ethnic minority languages as medium of instruction; second, Vietnamese as the core language of instruction, ethnic minority languages and supplementary; and the third, ethnic minority languages as core and Vietnamese introduced from grade 3. The first two models have not been effective in enhancing the language proficiency of minority students, as in these models they have to either struggle to operate with two languages at the same time or lack exposure and practice with their mother tongue. Particularly, 89% of students reached or exceeded the benchmark grade for Vietnamese proficiency, and 85% reached that for their mother tongues, which are Hmong, Jorai, and Mer. It is from the MOET and UNICEF 2010. MOET therefore has planned to modify and expand this model to other ethnic minorities. Kahas in 2009 therefore advocate that minority children be educated in their mother tongues for at least the first 6 to 8 years of schooling, as this will result in better general study achievements and long-term commitment to learning.
So, good day everyone. I am Angela Baliceres. I am here to discuss the current issues of English education policy in Vietnam. As previously stated, in Vietnamese education, English is currently taught as a subject at school level. It is also increasingly used as a medium of instruction at privately owned international schools and in selected study programs at a number of public universities. For both of these functions, the adoption of English is guided by corresponding government policies. So in Vietnam, English taught in primary, secondary, and especially in tertiary level. It is said to be the medium of instruction at international schools and in selected public universities, with its guidance of government policies that needs for them to follow. This discussion focuses on current English education policy in Vietnam under the enactment of the National Foreign Language Project and identifies major emerging issues with regard to primary English education, teacher qualifications, assessment practices, and the implementation of English as a medium of instruction. Project 2020, which was derived from rising societal and governmental concerns about the low English proficiency level of Vietnamese learners, according to T. N. Nguyen 2011, Nunan, and Nunan 2003, with an estimated total cost of approximately $500 million. So, Project 2020 was created due to the rising and rising governmental concerns about having the low English proficiency level of Vietnamese learners. They created this project to renovate the teaching and learning of foreign languages, not only English but other foreign language, within the national education system. To realize these objectives, stronger state investments in the teaching and learning of English are underway. Given its long-term vision and initial achievements, the project is unequivocally a timely major reform effort by the government to improve its citizens' foreign language competence. Its enactment has also prompted English teachers and learners and Vietnamese people in general to face and seek solutions to several long-standing problems related to English language teaching in the country. Another important policy issue is the massive retraining of English teachers to enhance their proficiency levels. In an English proficiency test delivered by MOET to English teachers in 30 provinces in Vietnam in 2011, 97% of high school English teachers and 93% of those teaching English at secondary and primary level failed to achieve the desired proficiency benchmark set by MOET. Based on the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, or CEFR, according to Dudzik and TNQ Nguyen 2015. So this means that teaching English in primary and even secondary is not effective as they not meet the percentage given by MOET. So CEFR is a 6-level framework commonly used to describe achievements of foreign language learners across Europe and was recently adopted to assess the English abilities of Vietnamese teachers and learners of English. Regarding the use of English as a medium of instruction, or EMI, the government has granted permission for the operation of several EMI schools and institutions. It is also part of Project 2020 that English will be used for teaching mathematics at high school level in well-resourced areas. EMI will also be implemented in teaching final year students at some national and regional universities. This endorsement of EMI could be considered forward-looking. It contributes to improve the status of English, meeting the demand for an international education of Vietnamese students, as well as creating more opportunities for cooperation between Vietnamese institutions and other universities in the region and in the world.
Now, let me tell you some comparison between the country Vietnam and the Philippines. Well, in Philippines is a multilingual nation with a total of nearly 200 unique languages, while in Vietnam is a multi-ethnic country and a multilingual society who speak more than 100 different languages. In Vietnam, the final year of primary level was up to grade 5, while in the Philippines, it is up to grade 6. Next is that the school week in Vietnam is 6 days beginning in Monday up to Saturday, but children only attend half day. Where in the Philippines, children attend in school for 5 days from Monday to Friday. During the colonial period in Vietnam, the language that Vietnamese using are French, while in the Philippines, during the colonial period, the first official language in the country is Spanish. Next is that, in the Philippines, Filipino shall be used as medium of instruction in social studies or social sciences, music, arts, physical education, home economics, and character education. While in Vietnam, Vietnamese is used to teach all sciences and social sciences courses. Lastly, Philippines and Vietnam are both facing the circumstances of losing different native languages because of the English language. It is because they prioritize to use the English language rather than their own native language.